Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I think this article that I have here is exposes a very dangerous situation, very dangerous. And I think if we were to use the correct terms that would fit the action, I think we could call Zimbabwe from across Atlantic, we can call that probably a terrorist state. And why do I say that? United States is not involved in a declared war or even, a hot war, let's put it this way, undeclared war with Russia. As far as we know, that means we don't have Russian army fighting American army, okay? This is like the definition. Why? Because the United States, supposedly, some people in the Pentagon are thinking to assassinate Putin, who is the president-elect, legitimate president of the Russian Federation. So if you're not at war, I don't know how such a thing, such an action could, be, I don't want to say legal, but, would be acceptable because you want to destroy the command, the guy in charge of whomever attacks you or kills you. So it's very, I think, improper or incorrect or illegal to even think about it as a country that is not involved in the hostilities, which is the United States of America. We have here Lavrov, the foreign minister of the Russian Federation, who makes some statements. And remember, if that's true, okay, make some statements that there are some people in the Pentagon talking about eliminating the president of the Russian Federation without being at war. Now, if you would think about Ukrainians talking about this, would be something else. Even though, it's still what kind of country are you if you do that? But you say, well, that's war. They attacked us. We should be entitled to do whatever necessary to make them stop. But what about the Americans? And let's say you have the Germans talking. Let's say the Germans are talking about it. Let's eliminate Putin. We're going to put our special troops to take care of that. Do you think that would be appropriate? Then you can ask the question, how about the Russians? How could the Russians respond to that? Would that be legitimate for them to consider the Western leaders and influential, politicians and military personnel at the top to being legitimate targets? If that opens up, if that line is crossed, then what? So let's see what's going on here. I think it's very dangerous, and I don't doubt that we have people that might think that way and talk about it that way. I mean, Lindsey Graham, the idiot senator from, I think it's South Carolina, so one of the 100 US senators, right? He said on 2 occasions that Putin should be taken out. This is his terminology. I mean, imagine that you would have, a guy from the Duma or a senator from, I don't know how you call it, Security Council or something of Russia, who say, you know what, let's take out, Biden or something. Do you think that the American media will say, well, it's only fair if we say to take their people out, it's only fair for them to say the same thing? Oh no, you can't do that. They immediately return into normality and figure out that that's outrageous. But when they do it, nothing to see. So this article comes from Republic World, which is an Indian media outlet from India, okay? I'm gonna make sure. From December 27th, today. Russia says US, and I'm quoting, decapitating strike, warning to Kremlin aims at assassinating Putin. It's kind of like a loaded little, headline here, but statements made by anonymous officials. I don't like anonymous officials, as you know. But I understand. From Pentagon speaks about a threat of an attempted assassination of Russian President Putin, says Sergei Lavrov. So, Russia's top diplomat, Sergei Lavrov, in an interview with Russian news agency TASS, said that statements made by anonymous Pentagon officials about a, I'm quoting, decapitating strike on the Kremlin essentially amounted to a threat aimed at physically eliminating Russian President Vladimir Putin. And I'm quoting, "The one who's gone the furthest of all the others is in Washington. There are some anonymous officials from the Pentagon who have actually enunciated threats to deliver a decapitating strike on the Kremlin, which is in fact an assassination threat against the Russian president," end quote. Lavrov told TASS. How would you take this? Would you take it as first, if that's true, okay? If that's true, how would you take this? As nothing to see here? If you say that, then reverse the position and imagine it with Russians, and you have the Americans saying, hey, there are some anonymous guys over there, anonymous guys in the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation thinking about assassinating, I don't know, Milley, Austin, and what's his name, Biden. Biden is already gone, so I don't need to do anything about it. But I'm just saying, you know, how would you interpret it? As in, let's say, on the other side of the equation, we say, well, it's okay, it's just kids. Is that how you say? I don't think so. I think I'm 100% no. Nobody would say, nothing to see, it's fine, it's just like crazy talk. Lavrov told TASS, right? If someone really has such ideas, I'm quoting again Lavrov, if someone really has such ideas, then this someone should think long and hard about the possible consequences of such plans, end quote, the foreign minister underlined. Lavrov, unfortunately, he thinks, and I'm going to say it, he thinks that he's dealing with intelligent and adult, mature people. And he's not. He's dealing with some adult-looking people with child brains, with heavy weapons in their hands. That's the problem. Or with a drunk guy with a shotgun in the parking lot. Not very cognitively potent. So I think Lavrov, maybe he should drop his assertion on the American diplomats and people who lead. Because indeed, this kind of rhetoric is only of a late teens mentality, a juvenile who can think like this without thinking of the consequences. I mean, and you are a Pentagon. If this is true, I said it like 50 times already. If that's true, and you know, as I always say, there is no smoke without a fire. So I think there are some people who might have thought, and again, I use Lindsey Graham, a senator, who can vote potentially, that's what he got the right under the Constitution, to vote for a declaration of war or this or that. He's bypassed by the new rules over there and the military-industrial complex that they do whatever they want without the, you know, the Congress's approval of a declaration of war. That's been done for what, Second World War now. So anyway, it's just I'm pretty sure, I have a gut feeling that I'm more inclined to think that these guys are talking about it, or there are some talking about, but probably there are some adults, or probably there are some scaredy cats over there who are thinking of the consequences and they don't like the consequences. I think that's what it is. But just to talk about it, it's crazy. So Lavrov went on to target Western countries. Lavrov went on to target Western countries saying, and I'm quoting, "It seems that they have shed all vestige of respectability." Remember, that's been a long time ago, Lavrov. So it seems that they have shed all vestige of respectability. The notorious ex-British Prime Minister Liz Truss is a vivid example, given that she directly and publicly said during her pre-election campaign that she was ready to order a nuclear strike. End quote. Lavrov claimed. Not claimed. She said it. I read it. She said it. When she was asked, would you do that? She said yes. She was asked a question and she was at the podium and she said yes. So what the hell? Answer a little bit more. She would do that. Blaming Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky of, I'm quoting, crossing the line, Lavrov said that the Ukrainian had extended his favor with NATO states by urging them to deliver preemptive nuclear strikes against Moscow. I read that too. His statement, not someone interpreting it. Russia and the United States delivered preemptive nuclear strike against Moscow. He was the only one with saying that nuclear strike, preemptive strike, Russia. Russia and the United States are unable to maintain a normal path of a conversation due to the confrontational course assumed by US President Joe Biden, Lavrov noted. He said the United States is benefiting from the hot conflict in Ukraine, Lavrov said. The United States and its NATO allies are seeking to win a victory over Russia on the quote-unquote battlefield to destroy our country, said Lavrov in an interview, and I'm quoting again. The actions by the collective West and their puppet Zelensky confirm the global nature of the Ukrainian crisis. It is not secret that the strategic goal of the US and its NATO allies is to win a victory over Russia on the battlefield as a mechanism of weakening or even destroying our country. End quote. Now, if they think, Russians really think that way, that's the mindset. Don't you adjust your policy accordingly? So those guys think, okay, you guys, you are here to kill us. Will you expect the Russians to use any means necessary to defend themselves? I mean, what would you do? Just bend over and take it? What? Okay, and I'm quoting again Lavrov. Our opponents will just do about anything to achieve this goal, end quote. He added, according to Russia's top diplomat, the beneficiary of a quote-unquote hot conflict is the United States, who has been seeking to get the most out of its both economically and strategically. And I'm quoting, Washington has also been solving a key geopolitical goal of breaking the traditional bonds between Russia and Europe and making their European satellites even more dependent on them, Lavrov emphasized. I mean, look how much power they had, the Americans, the US, the leadership, anyway, the fuckers, had to impose and to make the Germans shoot themselves in the foot with the gas from Russia, including oil now with the oil cap. Oil is gonna shoot like this up because the Russians will not sell it to the unfriendly countries, which is the ones that go by the communist price control set, price cap, oil price cap set, whatever. So, and then the European says, yes, what do you want us to do? Hang our families? You want that? United States? We'll do it. Basically, I mean, they shot themselves in the foot, and now they are hurt. Their population is hurt, not the politicians. The politicians still have everything they had before, but the population doesn't. So think about this influence, and then the Nord Stream 1, Nord Stream 2 pipelines, who were blown up by we don't know who, but they say it was not the Russians, so go by elimination and probability and che bono, who benefits, and you're gonna kind of get close to who might that be, the first candidate by far. So yeah, I think he's right about that one too. Well, Emil, you're spewing Kremlin propaganda. I'm spewing facts. Tell me what I said here that was not true. Nord Stream 1 pipe, gas pressure on these guys, LNG that now the Americans are helping with a premium price, you pay more. The population in Europe, the inflation, the population in Europe using less gas, electricity, all of that to help the Ukrainians. For Russians doing what? For these guys, sanctioning themselves, the European. At whose orders? I wonder. What, do you think Cuba's order? Yeah, so it's very dangerous with the assassination bullshit. And you had to think a few steps ahead. So you gotta at least one step ahead. Okay, if I do this, what could be the consequences? Okay, the consequences. What could I do it after that? And if I do that to prevent this and that, what could that trigger? That's how you do it. These guys are like children, really. Anyway, dangerous. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.